Okay, in this question here, we're going to look at the height of tides over a certain time period. Let's take a look at our question here. So, at 2 p.m., the depth of the water, that's 2 p.m. Let me try that again. 2 p.m. The depth of the water off a pier at high tide, that's the maximum, is going to be 8 meters. After 8 hours, it reached its lowest depth of 2 meters. That's over here. And we want to assume that the time equals 0 at 12 p.m., so that is at noon. First thing is, the question is, what is the period of one complete cycle? In other words, how long does one cycle take? Well, let me just, I guess, kind of eyeball this. I mean, if at 2 o'clock we have, that's 2 in the afternoon, we have the high tide, that's at 8 meters. And then after 8 hours, it reaches its lowest depth. So after 8 hours, okay, so it'll be 2, after 8, that'll be 10 o'clock. It reaches a depth of 2 meters. And we're going to assume that it goes back up, so this is 8 hours. After 8 hours again, it'll be back to the top of 8 meters. So that'll be 10 plus 8 hours, that'll be what, 6 a.m. the next day? Okay, well, we're going to, instead of using a 24-hour clock or a 12-hour clock, we're just going to use a time scale that starts at 0, which, is going to be noon, and just continues. So if we want to find the time of day using AM or PM or a 24-hour clock, we would just have to make the appropriate division to scale it down to either the AM or the PM time. So let's start at 0. Okay, we want to draw a graph of this over a 24-hour period of time. And one cycle is going to be 16 hours. Okay, that's because it's 8 and 8. Remember, we're going something like this, down and then back up. So at 0, we don't know what the height is yet, but at 2 o'clock, remember 0 is also 12 noon. So at 2 p.m., we have a high tide, and that's going to be at 8 meters. So over here. After 8 hours, so that's going to bring us to 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're going to have the low tide, which is going to be 2 meters over here. And then after another 8 hours, we're going to have high tide again. So that is 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And that'll bring us up over here. So that is 2. Let me just put in the numbers. 12, 14, 16, and 18. Then we have 20. I'm going to have to extend this a bit. 22 and 24. So this stuff here, I'm just going to shrink it, put it up there. And our graph is going to look something like this. This is the high. It'll come down, and then it'll go back up to the high again. Remember, this happens at 2, and then again at 18 hours. And then it's going to come back down, something like, well, that's a bit too much. Something like this. 24 is 6 hours later, so actually that's a bit closer to the bottom. 26. But again, we're not going that far, so let's just chop off the end over here, because we're only looking at a 24-hour period. Similarly at the front, we're going to come down somewhere over here. It'll cross the y-axis, wherever that is. And there you have your graph of the depth of the water versus time over a 24-hour period. So this will be time, and this will be in T hours, and this will be height, and this will be in M meters. Just put that sideways. There you go.